Bulls may need to trade critical star this season, says expert. The Chicago Bulls may soon face one of their biggest decisions in years. According to an NBA insider, the franchise could be forced to trade away one of its most important young stars, and that decision might need to be made well before free agency even arrives. For the past 3 seasons, the Bulls have been trapped in a frustrating state of mediocrity under team president Arturas Karniovas. They haven't been good enough to make a serious playoff run, and they haven't been bad enough to enter a full rebuild. Instead, they floated in the middle of the pack, often settling for the play-in tournament and failing to advance. In the Eastern Conference, which has traditionally been weaker than the West, that kind of outcome is especially disappointing. But despite their struggles, this Bulls roster isn't completely without hope. There's still intriguing young talent, pieces that could either help push Chicago forward or serve as trade assets to reset the direction of the franchise. The problem is that the Bulls front office has a bad reputation when it comes to trades. Since 2024, Karniovas has made multiple deals that left Chicago on the losing end. Think about it, when the Bulls moved on from all-star wing Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, defensive specialist Alex Caruso, and even veteran guard Lonzo Ball, what did they really get back? One future first-round pick, which was actually their own 2025 selection that had previously been sent to the Spurs, and just 2 second-rounders. That's a shockingly small return for so much talent. Now, Bulls reporter Elias Guster of Bleacher Nation believes another tough call is looming, this time around their rising star at shooting guard, Coby White. White is just 25 years old, but over the last 2 seasons, he's grown into the Bulls' clear best player. That's not an easy label to wear, considering the team's record was only 39-43 last year, but his development has been undeniable. White's game has matured, his confidence has grown, and he's showing real all-star potential. Across 74 games last season, White posted career-high numbers, 20.4 points per game, while shooting a sharp 45% from the field, nearly 37% from 3, and over 90% from the free throw line. Add in 4.5 assists, almost 4 rebounds, and close to a steal per night, and you can see why he's become the focal point of Chicago's offense. Guster describes White as a guard who has immense improvement in his game. He's faster in transition, more dangerous from long range, and significantly sharper with the ball in his hands compared to earlier in his career. But here's the problem: White is entering the final season of his 3-year, $36 million contract. He's already declined an extension offer from the Bulls, signaling that he's betting on himself for a big payday next summer. Chicago has to decide, do they risk losing him in free agency, or do they move him early to ensure they get value back? And it gets even trickier because of Josh Giddey. The Bulls traded for the 6'8" guard, who thrives as a playmaker and rebounder. Giddey is entering restricted free agency this summer, which means Chicago will have to pay him too if they want to keep him long-term. On paper, White and Giddey complement each other well. Giddey looks to pass first and orchestrates the offense, while White is a score-first guard who spaces the floor. Together, they've already shown flashes of promise. In fact, one of the wildest moments of last season came in a Bulls-Lakers game, when Chicago was down 5 points with just over 10 seconds left. Patrick Williams hit a 3, Giddey came up with a steal on the inbounds, and Coby White nailed a clutch triple to put the Bulls ahead. The Lakers answered with a layup, but then Giddey sank an unbelievable half-court buzzer beater to win the game. That sequence perfectly highlighted why this duo can be so fun and why it's tempting to keep them together. Still, as Guster points out, the Bulls have to be cautious. You don't want to commit massive contracts to 2 guards who, while talented, remain unproven as the foundation of a contending team. If both players demand high salaries, Chicago risks locking themselves into a backcourt that might not actually elevate them beyond mediocrity. That's why this upcoming season is so crucial. If White continues to build on his breakout year and becomes the consistent all-star caliber player he's trending toward, then the Bulls will likely have no choice but to pay him and keep him as part of their future. But if he struggles with inconsistency, something that has defined stretches of his early career, then Chicago might feel pressure to move him at the trade deadline, before risking a total loss in free agency. It's a dilemma that goes beyond just one player. It speaks to the overall identity crisis of the Bulls. For 3 years now, they've tried to stay competitive without fully committing to a rebuild or finding a clear franchise cornerstone. White could be that cornerstone, or he could be their most valuable trade chip. For fans, it's a bittersweet situation. On one hand, watching White develop into a 20-point scorer and a potential all-star has been one of the few bright spots in recent Bulls seasons. On the other hand, the uncertainty surrounding his contract and the team's poor history in trades creates a lot of anxiety about what happens next. As Scuster summed it up, this season will be make or break. If White balls out, expect him to stay in Chicago with a new deal. If not, don't be surprised if his name comes up in trade talks before the season even ends. And for Bulls fans, that means every game White plays this year isn't just about wins and losses, it's about the future direction of the franchise.